Hi guys, welcome to another video from Little to Simple. Today we're diving deep into a very significant topic, election funding and donations in India. Elections are the backbone of any democracy, and the funding behind these elections often determines the fairness, transparency and effectiveness of the democratic process. In this video, we will explore the mechanisms of election funding in India, its benefits and its drawbacks. So let's get started. The basics. Election funding in India primarily refers to the financial resources that political parties and candidates use for their election campaigns. These funds are essential for various campaign activities, including advertising, organizing rallies, printing campaign materials, and much more. The sources of election funding in India can be broadly categorized into public funding and private funding. Public funding. Public funding, although not as prevalent in India as in some other countries, involves the government providing financial assistance to political parties. This is done to ensure a level playing field and to reduce the dependency on private donations. However, in India, public funding is limited and the majority of election expenses are covered by private sources. Private funding. Private funding includes donations from individuals, businesses, and organizations. These contributions can be made directly to political parties or individual candidates. In recent years, corporate donations have become a significant source of funding for political parties in India. Additionally, there are other forms of private funding such as crowdfunding, where small contributions from a large number of people are collected. To give you an idea of the scale, during the 2019 general elections, the combined expenditure of major political parties was estimated to be around 60,000 crores, with BJP alone spending over 27,000 crores. The legal framework. The legal framework governing election funding in India is designed to promote transparency and accountability. The primary laws regulating election funding include the Representation of the People Act 1951 and the Election Commission of India's guidelines. Representation of the People Act. The Representation of the People Act 1951 lays down the rules regarding election expenses, the disclosure of contributions, and the limits on election spending. It mandates that candidates and political parties maintain accurate records of their income and expenditure and submit these records to the Election Commission. Election Commission Guidelines. The Election Commission of India plays a crucial role in regulating election funding. It issues guidelines and directives to ensure transparency and fairness in the electoral process. For instance, the ECI has set limits on the amount of money a candidate can spend during an election campaign. For the 2019 general election, the expenditure limit was 70 lakh rupees per candidate in most states. The good. Now let's discuss the positive aspects of election funding in India. When managed and regulated properly, election funding can contribute to a vibrant and healthy democracy, ensuring democratic participation. One of the primary benefits of election funding is that it ensures broader participation in the democratic process. By providing financial resources, political parties can reach out to a larger number of voters, educate them about their policies, and encourage them to participate in elections. Level playing field. Public funding, although limited in India, can help create a level playing field for all political parties, especially smaller and newer parties. This reduces the dominance of wealthy parties and candidates and promotes a more equitable electoral competition. Promoting transparency and accountability. The legal framework and regulations surrounding election funding promote transparency and accountability. By mandating the disclosure of donations and expenditures, the Election Commission ensures that political parties and candidates are accountable to the public. Encouraging grassroots support. Crowdfunding and small donations from individuals encourage grassroots support. This form of funding helps political parties connect with ordinary citizens and ensures that their campaigns are driven by the interests of the people rather than a few wealthy donors. The negative aspects of election funding. While there are many benefits to election funding, there are also several drawbacks that need to be addressed to ensure a fair and transparent electoral process. Influence of money power. One of the most significant challenges in election funding is the influence of money power. Wealthy individuals and corporations often make large donations to political parties, expecting favorable policies and decisions in return. This undermines the democratic process and leads to a concentration of power in the hands of a few. For example, a study by the Association for Democratic Reforms found that between 2018 to 19, corporate donations accounted for 95% of the total donations received by national parties, amounting to over 881 crores. Lack of transparency. Despite the legal requirement, there are often issues with the transparency of election funding. Political parties and candidates may not disclose all their sources of income, leading to a lack of accountability. Black money and unaccounted funds are sometimes used in election campaigns, which further hampers transparency. Unequal competition. The disparity in funding between different political parties and candidates creates an unequal competition. Established parties with access to substantial resources can outspend smaller and newer parties, making it difficult for them to compete effectively. This undermines the principles of a fair and just electoral process. Corruption and cronyism. The nexus between political parties and their donors can lead to corruption and cronyism. Politicians may feel obligated to return favors to their donors, which can result in policy decisions that favor a few at the expense of the larger public interest. This erodes public trust in the democratic process and governance. The right to information. A crucial tool in promoting transparency and accountability in election funding is the Right to Information Act, which is also commonly referred to as RTI. The RTI Act, enacted in 2005, empowers citizens to seek information from public authorities, including political parties. Role of RTI in election funding. The RTI Act allows citizens to access information about the sources of funding and expenditure of political parties. This transparency can help hold political parties accountable and ensure that they adhere to the legal requirements regarding disclosure. Challenges and limitations. There have been challenges in implementing the RTI Act in the context of political parties. In 2013, the Central Information Commission declared that political parties are public authorities under the RTI Act. But political parties have resisted this decision, arguing that they are not public bodies. This has led to a legal and political tussle, and as of now, political parties are not fully complying with the RTI Act. Recent reforms and initiatives. To address the challenges associated with election funding, there have been several reforms and initiatives aimed at improving the election funding system in India. Electoral bond. One of the significant reforms introduced in recent years is the electoral bond scheme. Electoral bonds are a financial instrument through which individuals and corporations can make donations to a political party anonymously. While the scheme aims to increase transparency by ensuring that donations are made through the banking system, it has also faced criticism for the lack of complete transparency and potential misuse. Since the introduction of electoral bonds in 2018, over 6,500 crores have been donated to political parties through this route, with a significant portion going to the ruling party. Limits on election expenditure. The Election Commission has periodically revised the limits on election expenditure to keep up with inflation and rising campaign costs. These limits are intended to prevent excessive spending and ensure a level playing field for all candidates. However, enforcing these limits effectively remains a challenge. Strengthening disclosure norms. There have been efforts to strengthen the disclosure norms for political donations. The Election Commission has recommended several measures to improve transparency, such as mandatory disclosure of all donations above a certain threshold and greater scrutiny of election expenditure reports. Voter education and awareness. Voter education and awareness campaigns are essential to promote transparency and accountability in election funding. By educating voters about the sources of funding and the importance of transparency, civil society organizations and the Election Commission can empower citizens to make informed choices and hold political parties accountable. The way forward. As we have seen, election funding in India has both positive and negative aspects. To strengthen the democratic process and ensure fair and transparent elections, several steps can be taken. Enhancing public funding. One way to reduce the influence of private donations is to enhance public funding for elections. By providing financial support to all political parties, the government can create a level playing field and reduce the dependency on private donations. Improving transparency measures. Improving transparency measures is crucial to address the issues of black money and undisclosed donations. The Election Commission should have greater power to audit the financial records of political parties and enforce stricter penalties for non-compliance. Encouraging small donations. Encouraging small donations from individuals can help reduce the influence of large donors. Political parties should focus on building grassroots support and engaging with ordinary citizens. Crowdfunding platforms and online donation portals can play a significant role in this regard. Strengthening legal frameworks. Strengthening the legal framework governing the election funding is essential to ensure accountability and fairness. The government should consider revising existing laws and introducing new regulations to address the evolving challenges in election funding. Election funding is a critical aspect of the democratic process in India. While there are several benefits to a well-regulated funding system, there are also significant challenges that need to be addressed. By implementing reforms and promoting transparency, we ensure that election funding supports a vibrant and fair democracy. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.